40 to 40 is a blog and podcast hybrid project looking back, living in the now, and pondering on the future as Raymond Nurse turns 40. Each blog or podcast episode will feature topics beginning with F, such as foundation, family, financials, frenemies, and much, much more. Foundation. I have no choice but to start this episode with a plea. A real cry for help is the direction my first five is heading today. Firstly, Mama, sorry again. No more apologies for you. According to Ashley, we cussing. Now, for my plea to my countrymen, countrywomen, and country children of my island home Barbados. I recorded fuck, and not one time did I say raw soul. Not one raw soul time. I know. I can no carry my raw soul cause my Beijing cardigan get revoked. If I could get it back, I promise I will never again make such an egregious error cause I was moving foolish as raw soul. My punishment is having to go and list this episode as explicit because I didn't do fuck right in the first raw soul place. I had fun recording fuck since after appearances, language holds important value in exposure to the culture of others and how we connect and communicate. I enjoy seeing others, how they live, love, and just liaise this journey of life we are all on. As I was coming up with topics that would drive 40 to 40, I pondered on not just what they would be, but also on the order of how they would be delivered. Naturally, some topics would overlap others and some would stick out like sore thumbs next to others that one would think they just should not be there. Foundation was always going to have some overlap with framework, and I had to come to the realization that this occurrence was okay. The placement of it would serve as a foundation of sorts after the wildness that was fuck and before what is to come. I chose to resist my architectural leaning when seeing the topic of foundation, instead opting to explore foundation in my life to date. Framework explored macro organizational aspects, and now I will dive into more detailed components. Circumstances by Buju Banton felt right to highlight the parts of my foundation that I hold near and dear to my heart. Circumstances made me what I am. Was I born a violent man? Circumstances made me what I am. Everyone should understand. I am from not nice areas of Barbados, and I will shout it from the mountaintops every chance that I get. I know we want to do better in life, and from a socioeconomic perspective, I get it. But why do I need to skirt and avoid my foundation to be more accepted by others? Bayland, Dalkeith, Britons Hill, and the Orleans were my stomping grounds growing up. I am a straight tongue ting, don't ever forget it. I am blessed to be able to afford accommodation at a myriad of hotels and guest rooms when I go to visit my island home. That's just not who I am and where I am most comfortable. About 2 trips ago, I was home for almost 2 months. It was not a glorious trip, but that's how it goes sometimes. That trip I attempted to stay at a hotel. It was so quiet, sterile, and just not me. I am glad it was only for a few days. I knew that was likely going to happen because the best time spent for me is sleeping in my dad's family home in the Orleans and driving to my mom's house to visit the old girls, my mom and my gran. I am most comfortable in the quote-unquote ghetto. I am most perturbed in the suburbs, and most of my professional life in America has been spent living and working in cities, 12 hours and 18-hour cities to be specific. The 18-hour plus city living is too much for a Bajan boy such as I. I have now studied and or worked in 4 countries, Barbados, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and the United States. With all of this, my first foundation is African. Inside me is a region I will likely never really know as intimately and thoroughly as I do Barbados and its capital, Bridgetown. Foundation represents an underlying basis or principle. Since 3 of the countries I have lived or worked are not my place of birth, but still exist as the substructure of who I am, I will drop one quick example from the country, positive or negative if need be, to illustrate how these countries and places have impacted my foundation. University of Technology, CSP 1010, Jamaica. CSP 1010 was a course I did at UTEC that I feel should be a requirement of all tertiary education institutions. I had a chance to take part in this community service program that had placements in botanical gardens, schools, and other organizations. You were not able to graduate unless you had met the 40 hours required for CSP 1010 in undergraduate. Jamaica has a divide between education quality based on cost. So there's preparatory and primary school. Then there's high school and secondary school, with the primary school and secondary school being the lesser funded offerings across their age levels. I chose to be an assistant teacher at Mona Heights Primary School and would never forget the day I was walking through Papine and heard some Jamaican students shouting, "Mr. Nurse, Mr. Nurse!" and seeing my little ones, who were now years older and still in school, keeping it cool, brought nothing but joy to my heart. It was such an amazing program that I hope is still ongoing to this day, and also that others would look to emulate it, as it really does help. Je n'en cuio St. Lucia. My time in St. Lucia was way too short-lived, but quality over quantity is how I view it. I've seen many a festival and a celebration, but I was not quite ready to see euphoria, pride, and majesty in Madras on display like I saw during Je n'en cuio. I would leave the foundation of what the festival means to be explained by a sister of the Lucian soil like Teriba do Nascimento, because she loved explaining. Throughout 40 to 40, it will feature persons through the region of the Caribbean doing amazing things. She is the first feature. Go check out, like for real, Go check out her creativity fueled by a Je n'en cuio foundation. She's over at meanbet.com or meanbet.bags on Instagram. You never know who might talk off your ear during a bungee performance in a feta. St. Lucia at its foundation was magical to me. I plan to return real soon, as it's been a decade since I left, but its impact on me remains to this day. Cheers, St. Lucia, for your part in my foundation. Carlton Basmagian at Iowa State University. Iowa State University definitely rocked and tested my foundation during my time there, but some things stood out as forever positive in memories and best practices that could be deployed anywhere humans are. I did not have the greatest time for graduate school, but Mr. Basmagian came through with a course that made me feel as at home as I had felt in all of my time there around faculty and in this new school system. Ben Shirtcliffe, now of University of Oregon, gets an honorable mention for sure. But Carlton's class was by and large a winner. Carlton's class was centered around simplicity. He had 26 odd students, most were older in age, and class time was in the evening. Dinner is a big deal in America, and we are all human with the need to eat. Carlton taught his regional planning history course in a real way. I got to learn many things like the old school photoshopping that went into the iconic transcontinental railroad image. People really go through some lengths to revise history in their own image and likeness, huh? Most importantly, I learned through a weekly potluck which of the students I wanted to invite to any line I had, cause woof, woof. Every week, persons from the class would sign up to cook or provide something from their home country. This class was super blended too. We had Uganda, Cameroon, Costa Rica, India, Barbados, Japan, China, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, America, Nepal, Indonesia, and many more in the dance. It was a great era for my taste buds every time we took this break, cause this guy loves his gut. It was a great food too for my mind, as I got to interact and learn about the foundation of persons in a way that mattered. I learned about their foundations through the act of breaking bread and candid conversations. I am now an elder statesman producing 40 to 40. I never pictured this in my life as my foundation was developing. My building has developed well past the foundation phase. I could not resist the urge to be cheesy and include at least one architecture reference. I plan to add a few more floors once the big man upstairs will have it that way. A key thing I try to carry with me daily is that despite my building having developed well past the foundation phase, I stay wary that the bedrock can still evolve or devolve as life happens. My plan is to continue to stay as grounded as I can through it all. The next episode will be a podcast hosted by Ashley Long. Cheers for listening and stay blessed, family.